A stunning whistleblower complaint from a top Homeland Security intelligence official telling Congress he was ordered by acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf and Wolf's top deputy Ken Cuccinelli to downplay warnings of Russian meddling in the 2020 election and the threat of white supremacy groups. The formal complaint says that the department's top intelligence officer was told to focus instead on threats from China and Iran and left-wing domestic groups to satisfy the White House and National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. In Brian Murphy's whistleblower complaint, he says the acting Homeland Security Secretary told him to, quote, cease providing intelligence assessments on the threat of Russian interference in the United States, and instead start reporting on interference activities by China and Iran. And in July, Wolf told Murphy that intelligence notification should be held because it made the president look bad. Joining me now, House Intelligence Committee Chairman, Congressman Adam Schiff. Thanks for being with us. Congressman, what is your reaction to this, and what can Congress do?
Andrea, it's just shocking. Now, of course, we have been investigating this for months, but to have a senior intelligence official at DHS confirm everything we feared, that is that they're censoring intelligence, they're withholding intelligence because it would make the president look bad, because that intelligence shows that Russia is pushing out the same false narratives as the president, once again, helping the president in his campaign. But they're also minimizing the threat from white supremacy. They're exaggerating the threat at our southern border. It's just plain dishonest and dangerous because it doesn't let us protect the country the way that we should if we're getting good and honest intelligence work products.
And he points out that he was demoted. He says it's retaliation under the Whistleblower Act. That's obviously an actionable issue. But so was Alexander Vindman. And there was no price to be paid by the White House for what they did to him and his brother.
Andrew, you're right. And this is one of the sad realizations of the last 3.5 years, that our system really depends on two parties working in good faith to defend our institutions, to defend our democracy. But the GOP leadership in the Congress and all too much of its membership has just become a cult of personality around the president. They are amazingly silent in the face of this whistleblower complaint, in the face of these allegations in the Woodward book, that the president knew that this pandemic was deadly, could be as deadly as the one of 100 years ago. And yet these Republican enablers in Congress refuse to speak out. And because of that, it is very hard to hold these people accountable. But we're going to do our very best to do so. We're going to expose all of this wrongdoing so the public is informed, and the public will have the opportunity in less than 2 months now to take their own action against this administration.
We've reached out to DHS and gotten no response. There's a lot of questions now about Chad Wolf, Ken Cuccinelli. Also, acting deputy Kash Patel over at DNI, who's basically been running DNI from all of the reporting I've had. What are your concerns about him? You knew him when he was up on the Hill, I think, working for Devin Nunes.
Well, I did. You know, when he worked on our committee for Devin Nunes, he was essentially Nunes's hatchet man. And when he went to the White House and then later to the office of the director, working with the likes of Rick Grinnell, you had two people who were just political hacks, essentially running our intelligence agency from the very top. It was probably the most destructive period in the history of our intelligence agencies, at least the modern history. And that continues right now, withholding intelligence about what foreign powers, what the Russians are doing in particular, to try to tip this election to Donald Trump. This is what happens when you have a president who, as Mattis is quoted as saying, has no moral compass. He surrounds himself with other people with no moral compass, willing to do his bidding, willing to suppress intelligence, willing to coerce analysts to write conclusions at odds with the facts, willing to lie to Congress, as this whistleblower has also alleged, all to somehow protect and advance the interests of the person of Donald Trump. And it's just unconscionable.
Well, there is a pressing issue, which is the election. And we're talking about the role that DHS plays in guarding against election interference, foreign interference, in warning states. This is what the former Homeland Secretary, Jay Johnson, said to Rachel Maddow last night.
Even more disturbing, Rachel, is a report from late July from ODNI. This is one that got through that says, in addition to the information op, Our adversaries also seek to compromise our election infrastructure, and we continue to monitor malicious cyber actors trying to gain access to U.S., state, and federal networks, including those responsible for managing elections. And so all the lights on the dashboard should be blinking red right now. At the same time, this administration wants to seem to put a lid on getting this valuable information out to the American people.
And that has to be a big concern. That's the only way that the states are going to get their heads up. It's what Jay Johnson called vertical intelligence.
That's exactly right, Andrea. And Jay really puts his finger on it. When this intelligence is withheld from state and local law enforcement, those responsible for election security, those responsible for making sure the technologies work and aren't hacked into, when that is withheld because it would, be embarrassing to the president, that puts our democracy at risk. That puts everyone's votes at risk. So this is just how destructive it is. Now, interestingly, Andrea, the Treasury Department today acknowledged that Andrei Derkach, this Ukrainian parliamentarian, is a Russian agent. This is the same person that the president's lawyer has been meeting with, has been pushing out false narratives with. In fact, Treasury acknowledges that these are false narratives about Joe Biden that this Russian agent is pushing out, and the president is amplifying those same false narratives. And here we see, the fish rots from the head. When the president of the United States is willing to push out Kremlin narratives and get people who work for him to withhold intelligence about what Russia is doing to help his campaign, it really puts our elections at risk.
And that same false narrative also pushed out by a prominent chairman of the Homeland Security Committee on the Republican side of Congress as well. Thank you very much for sounding the alarm, Adam Schiff. Thanks for being with us today.